of the Transform Your Life in 15 Minutes. We are doing 5-minute exercises, one each for the mind, the body, and the soul. And for the mind, what we're doing is we're reading a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. What's his name? Maxwell Maltz. We're doing, for the body, we're doing yoga sun salutations for 5 minutes. And then for the soul, we're doing a 5-minute meditation where we're focusing on our breath, doing Ujjayi breathing. My name is Pia McAdams, and I am the accounting professor. I'm also a certified coach. I specialize in personal and small business finance and also fitness. I help people reach goals in those areas. And I want to welcome you to the challenge. For those of you that is your first time joining me, welcome. For those of you that have been on for all 29 days, or 28, this is the 29th, all days, I want to commend you on your progress because I know you're making them because you're telling me about them, and I'm very happy and appreciative of hearing them. By the way, these testimonies that I'm collecting, I wrote a book, and more about that a little later, but I wrote a book, and I would love to use your testimony to the book, but I have to talk about that offline because obviously I need to get permission for that. But anyway, so I want to go ahead and get started because to this chapter, chapter 7 that we're on, is all about happiness. And I think this is a very good chapter to talk about, a very good subject, especially what's going on with our economy today. But of course, before I start talking about that chapter, let me kind of recap for those of you this is the first time joining us, particularly because we already are in chapter 7 of this book, so I kind of want to catch you up. So psycho-cybernetics is basically the study of the subconscious, the mind, particularly the subconscious mind. And we've learned how this is either hindering us or helping us achieve our goals in life. So we learned about our self-image and the importance of the self-image. We also learned that our subconscious mind only knows the word yes. So when you think a thought, just remember that you're actually giving a direct order to your subconscious mind to yes. So if it's a negative thought that you're thinking, then the subconscious mind is going to agree with that negative thought. However, if it's a positive thought, then guess what? That subconscious mind is going to agree with that positive thought. Now, for some of you, you may be saying, okay, this is great. I understand it. But also I want you to really think about this for those of you that are raising children. Like I know growing up, we all know the importance of raising kids. It's like the most important job that you have. And I commend all the stay-at-home moms out there. Because this is one of the most very important jobs that you can actually have because you're developing another human being. So for those of you that are raising small children, I really want you to take this to heart because right now, especially the really, really young children, like I'm talking about before the age of 5, you are programming your children, whether you believe it or not, you are programming your children as we were programmed as children. And again, we do the best we can as an adult. That's not what I'm saying. Obviously, life happens, but do better now that you know better, right? In other words, in order to do better, you have to know better. Now you know better, so do better. Now, for those of us that are adults, there are things that we can still do to reprogram ourselves. And we learned things like mental picturing. We learned about visualization. We learned about relaxation. We learned about acting as if. So these are the things that coincidentally we did as a child that we can still do as adults to help reprogram our self-image so that it makes us more susceptible to achieving our goals. I think one of the most important concepts is to realize that we were programmed by God for success. We literally were programmed for success. So with that being said, it goes on to believe that we also deserve happiness. So in chapter 6, let me just kind of catch up real quick. In chapter 6, we learned about 5 different ways to release our creative mechanism. And our creative mechanism is a way for us to just kind of relax and allow the universe to work through us. Okay. So we learned that number 1, do your worrying before you place your bet, not after the wheel has got started. And that's an analogy of the roulette. It's basically saying that do all your worrying, if you have to worry, do it before you make a decision. Once a decision is made, stop worrying. There's no need to worry. Just kind of relax and let it go. The second one is to cultivate the habit of living in the present moment. Like live for the now. This is the moment that you have an opportunity to enjoy. Don't worry about the past. Don't stress about the future. This is the now. Enjoy this moment now. Number 3 is to try to do only one thing at a time. And basically, this is talking about when you're trying to achieve your goals, work on one at a time. Like have that streamlined focus toward that goal and you'll get to it that much faster. Number 4 was sleep on it. And I'm pretty sure we've all experienced this where you go to bed thinking about something's on your mind. And then when you wake up, guess what? Miraculously, a solution has appeared. So just sleep on it. And then the 5th and final one is to relax while you work. And again, it all has to do with letting the universe work with you through you. Okay, so in other words, stop trying to stress and trying to make the wheels turn. Particularly if things that you've been doing, if it's not working for you, try something different. Now, obviously, if what you're doing in your life is working for you, then by all means continue what you're doing. But I'm pretty sure there's at least one area that you would like an improvement on. Try something different. That's all we're doing. It's all about having an open mind. So now in chapter 7, where we're learning about happiness. Let me find it in my book. I had a bookmark. What happened? Thought I had a bookmark. But we're learning about happiness. Here it is. I unbookmarked it. All right, so basically we're learning that happiness is a habit, okay? And we can actually cultivate that habit of happiness. So yesterday we read about happiness is a good medicine. So now today I'm going to start off with common misconceptions about happiness. It says happiness is not something that is earned or deserved. Happiness is not a moral issue any more than the circulation of blood is a moral issue. Both are necessary to health and well-being. Happiness is simply a state of mind in which our thinking is pleasant a good share of the time. If you wait until you deserve to think pleasant thoughts, you're likely to think unpleasant thoughts concerning your own unworthiness. Happiness is not the reward of virtue, said Spinoza in his book Ethics, but virtue itself. Nor do we delight in happiness because we restrain our lust, but on the contrary, because we delight in it. Therefore, we are able to restrain them. Now, as you're going through, or as you're listening through the reading, I want you to understand that we all know the old adage that happiness comes from within, right? We've all heard it. But do you really know what it means, and are you actually practicing it? So that's what I want you to think of in your mind. We all know happiness comes from within because you've heard it 1,000 times, right? But just because you hear something doesn't necessarily mean you understand it. And how do you know you understand it is because if you're practicing it. Now, does this mean you're going to be happy 100% of the time? Well, we're going to find out. All right. Good morning, Nisi. How are you? Glad to see you today. All right, so the pursuit of happiness is not selfish. Many sincere people are deterred from seeking happiness because they feel that it would be selfish or wrong. Unselfishness does not make for happiness, for it not only gets our minds directly outward from ourselves in our introspective, our faults, sins, troubles, unpleasant thoughts, or pride in our goodness, but it also enables us to express ourselves creatively and fulfill ourselves in helping others. One of the most pleasant thoughts to any human being is the thought that he is needed, that he is important enough and competent enough to help and add to the happiness of some other human being. Excuse me. However, if we make a moral issue out of happiness and conceive of it as something to be earned as sort of a reward for being unselfish, we are very apt to feel guilty about wanting happiness. Happiness comes from being and acting unselfishly as a natural accompaniment to the being and acting, not as a payoff or prize. If we are rewarded for being unselfish, the next logical step is to assume that the more self-negating, abnegating, and miserable we make ourselves, the happier we will be. The premise leads to the absurd conclusion that the way to happiness is to be unhappy. Happiness does not lie in the future, but in the present. We are never living, but only hoping to live, and looking forward always to be happy. It is inevitable that we never are so, said Pascal, the 17th century mathematician and philosopher. I have found that one of the commonest causes of unhappiness amongst my patients is that they are attempting to live their lives on a deferred payment plan. They do not live or enjoy life now, but wait for some future event or occurrence. Like, for instance, I'm going to wait until I lose this many pounds to be happy. I'm going to wait till I get out of debt to be happy. I'm going to wait for this to be happy. You don't want to do that. They will be happy when they get married, or when they get a better job, when they get a house paid for, or when they get children through college, or when they have completed some task or won some victory. And invariably, they are disappointed. Happiness is a mental habit, a mental attitude, and if it is not learned and practiced in the present, it is never experienced. It cannot be made contingent upon solving some external problem. When one problem is solved, another problem will appear to take its place. Life is a series of problems. If you are to be happy at all, you must be happy, period, not because of. Now, isn't that like poignant? Like, I want to stop there because the next one is talk about happiness as a mental habit. But again, we all know about happiness and we know that it's internal, but do you actually really practice it? Like, are you waiting for some event or some victory or something other than some outside occurrence for you to be happy? Well, the time to be happy is now, because if not now, when? You know, I once heard that we all tiptoe life to make it cautiously through death. Think about that for a moment. Do you tiptoe through life to make it cautiously to death? Are you not doing the things that you want to, or need to be or want to be doing now because you're trying to make it cautiously to your death? Are you not taking choices, or are you not being daring? Are you not living your life? Are you just being cautious, like you're just being a cautious person? Why? All right, so those are some thoughts for you to think about today for our mind portion. And recall that the mind portion is not necessarily about this particular book. Give me a second. Throat's dry. It's early in the morning. But to cultivate the mind means to do something positive for your mind. So I know I hear a lot of times people say, well, I read a lot. But what are you reading? Okay, don't get me wrong. I love the James Patterson, the Stephen Kings. I love all those novels and all that kind of stuff too. But what is that actually doing for you? Just like watching TV. What is it doing for you? Particularly for those of you that keep complaining about this, that, and the other. And more importantly, you're saying you don't have time. Oh, I should be walking, right? You're saying that you don't have time to do this and you don't have time to do that. Guys, we all have the same 24 hours, right? We all do. It's just what do you do with that time that you have, and how are you expending it? And particularly your leisure time. And I get it. Like after a hard day's worth of work and all the stressful things that's going on, you just kind of want to come home and relax and just sit in your house and sit on the couch and just kind of watch mindless TV, and so that way you can de-stress yourself. But haven't I introduced you another way to do that? Like, for instance, yoga or meditating or reading. Just some thoughts. Okay, so speaking of which, we are now going on to the second and third portion of our challenge, which is going to be the yoga and the meditation. And by the way, hopefully by now you understand that we are three parts of one, right? Mind, body, and soul. And I want you to also understand that 2/3 are internal. So in other words, our mind, obviously, and our soul is internal. And our body is just a 1/3. So for those of you that only working on 1/3 of your whole self, and you're wondering why you're not happy or you're not accomplishing the goals, or you have accomplished the goals but you're still not happy that you accomplished the goal, work on those 2/3. Because remember, it's like painting a house on the outside, but you live on the inside, and the inside is a total disaster area. All right. So in order to be fully happy, and I should say be fully happy, because you can be fully happy anytime, no matter what state of mind, whatever's going on externally, you can be happy. But in order to be complete and whole and to be able to express that happiness, work on the inside as well as the outside. All right, enough of my spiel. Okay, so, oh, you know what? Guess what I did? This hasn't happened since the very beginning, but it did happen. All right. Yes, I forgot my cell phone again. And no, I'm not going to go through my double doors. I see what's going on here. I get all excited. Let me turn on my lights so you can see me. I get all excited about what I'm talking about. Because, guys, trust me when I tell you, this 5 minutes of the mind, for me, I can do 15, I can do like a lecture on this. Oh, I don't need that light. Because it's one thing to, like, when you read it, but when you're actually discussing it, it's another, right? It helps with the understanding. So a lot of times I get so involved in the talking that I forget my cell phone. I got it now. Okay, let's go into the yoga. Join me, please. Can you see my head? Okay, got it. Namaste. Okay, this brings us to the meditation portion. So come seated in a nice comfortable position. If you do have your shoes on, take your shoes off so your feet can be grounded to the floor, such that your spine is straight but not totally erect. Just in a nice, natural, comfortable position. It's all about comfort. You're going to close your eyes and you're going to clear your mind. As thoughts come into your mind, just gently push them aside. And I want you to understand that for everyone, there's a lot of thoughts that come through. So be patient with yourself on this practice of meditation. It is a practice. Over time, you will learn how to control your thoughts. Right now, just focus on your breath. We're inhaling for a count of 1, exhaling for a count of 2. release, relax, and return refreshed and calm. You've done something good for yourself today. Okay, so that concludes day 29 of the Transform Your Life in 15 Minutes. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Bye.